Ramit Sethi is one of the most respected personal finance experts of the past 20 years, and for good reason. He's the author of the New York Times bestseller, I Will Teach You to Be Rich, and has contributed immense value to the personal finance community through his large following. I've followed Ramit for almost 10 years. His signature philosophy is to spend extravagantly on things you love while cutting costs mercilessly on things you don't. An approach that aligns perfectly with what we teach here at the Pioneers. While we deeply respect Ramit and his work, like all of us, he isn't perfect. In today's video, we'll examine Ramit's perspective on a very important aspect of personal finance: the order in which to invest your money, highlighting what he gets right and the one major flaw in his recommendations. This matters because if you've been following experts like Ramit without question, as we did early in our wealth building journey, you might be missing out on key investment opportunities that better align with your goals. Let's start by defining investing order. When investing for retirement, you face many options, perhaps too many. It's like when you're at the grocery store looking for an unfamiliar ingredient, you finally find the right aisle only to discover 7 different versions of what you need. Life would be simpler with just 1 or 2 choices, but instead the endless options can paralyze you from making any decision at all. This is exactly what happens with investing accounts. You have employer-sponsored plans, traditional and Roth IRAs, health savings accounts, and taxable brokerage accounts, just to name a few. Personal finance experts like Ramit understand this challenge and have worked to simplify it. They've created ideal investing orders, essentially the optimal way to fund different retirement accounts, especially since most of us can't max out every account each year. These recommendations come as a simple sequence. Do this first, then that, then invest here. Many experts share their ideal investing order as a rule of thumb to help their followers take action and avoid analysis paralysis. For the most part, these experts agree on the basic sequence. Ramit is one such expert who offers his ideal investing order. We're focusing on him simply because he's a well-known figure in this space, and many of us are already familiar with his recommendations. So let's cover Ramit's investing order. Ramit's first step is to contribute to your 401k, specifically enough to get the full company match. According to the Plan Sponsor Council of America, 98% of companies offering a 401k provide matching contributions. So if your employer offers a 401k, they likely match your contributions up to a certain percentage. Ramit starts here because this single decision can have the greatest impact on your wealth building journey. He calls it free money, and he's absolutely right. This first step is widely agreed upon by financial experts, and for good reason. If you're just getting started with investing, this is the perfect place to begin. By the way, as we go through this, I'll continue to share screen recordings from Ramit's article where he outlines these recommendations. I'll link to that article in the description below if you want to review it after watching this video. Ramit's next step is to pay off high interest debt. While he doesn't specify this in his article, high interest debt typically means debt with interest rates much higher than mortgage or student loans. This usually comes in the form of consumer debt, with credit cards being the most common culprit. According to Bankrate, the average credit card interest rate is just over 20%. Failing to pay off high interest debt can cripple your investing efforts. So once again, I agree with Ramit's recommendation. I know you're probably wondering about the major flaw I mentioned. Don't worry, we'll get there soon. And while you're here, go ahead and hit that like button and subscribe to the channel if you enjoy this type of content. Ramit's third step is to open a Roth IRA. In a traditional pre-tax 401k, your contributions are tax deductible. This lowers your taxable income for the year that you contribute. However, You'll pay taxes when you withdraw these funds in retirement. A Roth IRA is a smart move because it offers both tax-free withdrawals and tax diversification when paired with a traditional 401k. In retirement, you can strategically withdraw money from both accounts to optimize your tax situation. At the risk of sounding like a broken record, I agree with this step as a general rule of thumb. Unlike the first two steps, which are no-brainers for most investors, there are some scenarios when you might want to take a different approach. The main exception is when you're in your peak earning years and in a high tax bracket. Though in this case, you likely won't qualify for a Roth IRA anyway due to income limits on top of the contribution limits. Therefore, if you can still contribute to a Roth IRA but are approaching the income limit, I highly recommend contributing while you still can. Ramit's fourth step is where things get interesting. He suggests going back and maxing out your 401k. Lowering your taxable income through increased 401k contributions is generally a smart strategy. It allows you to invest more money that can compound and grow for years or decades. For most people, this is perfectly sound advice. However, there's a significant drawback. This strategy concentrates all your investments in tax-advantaged accounts, limiting your access to these funds before age 59 and a half. Yes, you can access your Roth contributions anytime, and you can tap pre-tax money by paying a 10% penalty plus taxes. And there are also strategies like the Roth conversion ladder and the 72T substantially equal periodic payments to avoid the 10% penalty. But these options aren't ideal. One severely limits flexibility, while the others require extra funds to bridge the 5-year conversion period. This, in my opinion, is the major flaw in Ramit's investing order. While it's solid advice for most people, it is a rule of thumb after all. There's a better approach for those interested in early retirement or even a downshift earlier than traditional retirement age. For anyone considering early retirement or a downshift like semi-retirement, here's a better strategy. Invest enough in your 401k beyond the match to adequately fund your traditional retirement, but instead of maxing it out, start investing in a taxable brokerage account. Here's why. You can actually have too much money locked away in your 401k or pre-tax accounts. While this might sound like a good problem to have, it means you could end up with plenty of money for traditional retirement, but no easily accessible funds for early retirement or a downshift earlier in life. There's a real opportunity cost to putting all of your money in tax-advantaged accounts. Without accessible funds, you'd need to jump through complicated hoops to support your lifestyle before age 59 and a half. By intentionally investing in a taxable brokerage account, you'll have easy access to your money when you need it. No hoops required. Plus, you'll still get some of the same tax advantages as retirement accounts. This balanced approach lets you fill two buckets: tax-advantaged accounts for traditional retirement and your brokerage account for retiring or downshifting early. A taxable brokerage account not only gives you more flexibility, but can also provide tax benefits if you keep your income low enough in early retirement. I know some of you aren't convinced. I've read all the comments on our recent FIRE movement video, so let's examine this a bit more closely. We discussed the advantages of the Roth IRA earlier, which many consider one of the best accounts available. Here are its three main benefits. First, it allows you tax-free withdrawals. 2, it offers tax diversification. And 3, you can access the contributions at any time. Now let's look at the taxable account. It allows tax-free withdrawals if you can keep your income low enough. Second, it offers tax diversification. And third, you can gain access to the contributions and the growth at any time. This is just scratching the surface on a full comparison between the Roth IRA and the taxable brokerage account. And if you want to see that video, make sure that you hit subscribe because we've already started working on that video. Now I hope you can see that a taxable brokerage account offers significant flexibility while still providing tax advantages. Consider including it as step 4 or at least step 5 after increasing your 401k contributions. Ramit's next step is to invest in your health savings account, or your HSA. The HSA offers what's known as a triple tax advantage. Contributions are tax-free, investment growth is tax-free, and withdrawals are tax-free when used for medical expenses. You can even save your medical receipts throughout your life and withdraw those funds decades later. For those with a high deductible health plan, an HSA can be an excellent option. There's even a case for prioritizing HSA contributions earlier in the investing order if you have such a plan. But that's a significant if. We've never had a high deductible plan, so we haven't used this strategy. And given the flexibility advantages of a taxable brokerage account that I mentioned earlier, I still wouldn't prioritize the HSA over it. Ramit's final step in his investing order is to open a taxable brokerage account, or what he calls a non-retirement investing account. As I mentioned earlier, I disagree with relegating this to the final step. Ironically, we followed this advice from Ramit and others and didn't prioritize our taxable brokerage account. Instead of retiring early, we've chosen to coast to retirement. For those unfamiliar with coast financial independence, it means we've front-loaded our investments until they reached a point where compound interest alone will carry us to financial independence. No further contributions are needed. While we haven't retired early, we have significantly downshifted our careers. Right now, I actually wish we had more accessible investments during this life phase. Despite doing many things right in our investing journey that helped us become millionaires in our 30s, this remains one of my major regrets. And I hope you can learn from our mistake. We dive deeper into this investing regret in this video here. Watch it next to learn why avoiding this mistake is so crucial. And as always, thanks for watching and enjoy the journey.